Back before people were dying of viruses, they used to die of something a lot more common called sepsis. You don't hear about this very often, but basically what it meant was you didn't live long enough to die from a virus. You probably were going to die from some kind of bacterial infection. If you got cut, if you were having any kind of a surgery, nothing. If you got an opening in your skin, the chances that bacteria would get in there, set in, go to sepsis, and then basically have you die of gangrene. This is a lot earlier and a lot easier to solve than a virus infection, but nevertheless, this is what is going on with our society right now. We have a septic media. It's an infection. I'm going to make the case, and then I'm going to tell you why. So let's see what we're talking about when I say a septic media, gangrenous media. Here's a headline from The Independent. It's one of variations on a theme, and it says, Coronavirus. Trump suggests injecting disinfectant and touts power of sunlight to beat disease. Trump suggests injecting disinfectant and touts power of sunlight to beat disease. Let's see what Trump had to say about disinfectant.
And then I see the disinfectant, where it knocks it out in a minute, 1 minute. And is there a way we can do something like that by injection inside or almost a cleaning? Because you see it gets on the lungs and it does a tremendous number of the lungs. So it'd be interesting to check that. So that you're going to have to use medical doctors with, but it sounds interesting to me.
Okay, let's have a look at what that actual quote was. This is a direct quote. You can go back and watch the video if you want to. This is what he said. He says, I see the disinfectant that knocks it out in a minute, 1 minute, and is there a way we can do something like that? So let's just look at this paragraph, because this is the paragraph that our septic media is using to convince you that Donald Trump told people to inject Lysol in his veins. What is he really saying? Well, why don't we look at that? Let's see the disinfectant that knocks it out in a minute, 1 minute. And is there a way we can do something like that? That's a question. Is there a way we can do something like that? In other words, is there any kind of a non-immune response that can reduce these viruses, sterilize the viruses, knock them out in a minute? And as it turns out, there are a number of medications, including hydroxychloroquine and other antivirals, that do exactly precisely what he's talking about. They go inside the body and they attack the virus in a non-immune response way. This is not a directive. This is a question. He's asking if there are therapies that are available to do essentially what Lysol does. You see, the way you can tell is it's got a question mark after it. It's got a question mark. Is there a way we can do something like that? Is there a way we can do something like that? Not can we inject Lysol or do we have to swallow Lysol? Is there a way we can do something that works as an internal disinfectant? We can also say it would be interesting to check on that. That's not do it. That's not it's proven. It said it would be interesting to check on whether or not there was a way to disinfect the body using a non-immune system like a disinfectant does to get rid of sepsis. And needless to say, the end of the paragraph is pretty clear here. We're going to have to use medical doctors, but it seems interesting to me. You know what? It seems interesting to me too. And when the president says we're going to have to use medical doctors, that's about as far away as saying that he told people to inject themselves with Lysol as it can possibly get. We're going to have medical doctors, but it seems interesting to me. He never, ever suggested that you should inject yourself with disinfectant. It's a flat-out goddamn lie is what it is. It's just plain lying. Let's see what else they have to say in this article. There it is again, and touts the power of sunlight to beat disease. By the way, before we go to the power of sunlight, I just want to point out something. This is typical. This is from the Independent article, but it's the same kind of thing that you see on all of the rest of these articles about this. Donald Trump, a businessman by training and trade, in other words, not a medical professional. Donald Trump's not a medical professional. He's a businessman by training and trade. Therefore, he's not qualified to talk about any of this stuff. Unlike journalists, of course, who are journalists by training and trade and who have absolutely never done anything other than speculate about the medical aspects of this pandemic. So to say that he's a businessman by training and trade is to immediately start the narrative that this man has no idea what he's talking about. floated more trial medical balloons on Thursday night, quote, repeatedly suggesting disinfectant be injected into the bodies of humans to cure coronavirus patients while doubling down on his claim that sunlight kills the deadly virus. He did no such thing. That is absolute slander. Libel, I suppose. It's both. He did no such thing. And they quote it directly. If you don't actually listen to the quote, why would you not believe this? Let's see what else they said. He goes back and lists the rest of the quote. Something about doing the internal cleaning, something that was cleaning the inside without an immune response. And then, of course, under questioning from reporters, later said he's talking about a senior health official, under questioning from reporters, later said that federal laboratories are not considering or trying to develop such a treatment option. In other words, it's only the reporters that could save us from the ideas that we would go out and inject Lysol directly into our veins because that's what the president told us to do. But thank God that under questioning from reporters, it was clarified that federal laboratories are not considering or trying to develop injecting Lysol into your bloodstream. That's true. But to say that they are not trying to develop a treatment option that is a non-immune response option is a flat-out lie. It is an incredible lie. They are working constantly on chemicals, on drugs to disinfect the body internally that is not using immune response. And again, hydroxychloroquine is just one of many. Here's the part that you really want to pay attention to because now you get down to the brass tacks on it. Here's the final graph. Mr. Trump continued to launch trial balloons, some of which catch on with his core supporters, and others that can cause a ruckus for several hours before fading from the public consciousness. In other words, some of this stuff can catch on with his core supporters, those idiots that go out there and inject themselves with Lysol. Well, obviously, what's going on here is he didn't say inject yourself with Lysol. What they're trying to do is they're trying to repeat this god-awful, nasty, unprincipled, horrible lie that Donald Trump also told people to ingest hydroxychloroquine. And they're trying to recreate the people that drank the aquarium cleaner and blame all of this on Trump. So let me just say one thing, first of all. If you hear the president talking about a drug called hydroxychloroquine showing medical promise, which it does, or you hear the president talking about the idea of using a non-immune system way to treat the disease internally, which we are, if you derive from this that you should go out and drink aquarium cleaner or inject Lysol into your veins, then you are not smart enough to live in a free society. You need to go somewhere else. If you are that stupid and that easily susceptible to this kind of thing, you don't belong in this country. You need to belong someplace where everything is absolutely controlled and everything is pre-digested and spit right into your mouth for you the way that the rest of the media does stuff. So now let's go to this business about how Trump is claiming that sunshine will cure the virus. Trump, that idiot who doesn't take anything seriously, you just go stand out in the sun and you'll be cured of COVID-19. That is the tone that they're taking. So let's see what the president actually said.
Supposing we hit the body with a tremendous, whether it's ultraviolet or just very powerful light, and I think you said that hasn't been checked, but you're going to test it. And then I said, supposing you brought the light inside the body, which you can do either through the skin or in some other way. And I think you said you're going to test that too. Sounds interesting.
Wow. Why would the president say something nutty like that? I don't know. Well, let's see. Let's have a little look here. I decided to look up an idea. I went to Google and I said, does ultraviolet light kill viruses? Well, let's find out. Columbia News. Could new ultraviolet technology fight the spread of coronavirus? Hey, that looks interesting. Why don't we see what this has to say? A technique that zaps airborne viruses with a narrow-length band of UV light shows promise for curtailing the person-to-person spread of COVID-19 in indoor public places. The technology, developed by Columbia University in New York City, you've probably heard of them, Center for Radiological Research, uses lamps that emit continuous low doses of a particular wavelength of ultraviolet light known as far UVC, which can kill viruses and bacteria without harming human skin, eyes, and other tissues, as the problem is with conventional UV light. Quote, far UVC light has the potential to be a game changer. unquote, said David Brenner, professor of radiation biophysics and director of the center. Quote, it can safely be used in occupied public spaces, and it kills pathogens in the air before we can breathe them in, unquote. The research team's experiments have shown that far UVC is effective in eradicating two types of airborne seasonal coronaviruses, the ones that cause coughs and colds. The researchers are now testing the light against the SARS-CoV-2 virus at Columbia in a biosafety laboratory with encouraging results, Brenner said. The team previously found the method effective in inactivating the airborne H1N1 influenza virus as well as drug-resistant bacteria, and multiple long-term studies on animals and humans have confirmed that exposure of far UVC does not cause damage to the skin or eyes. Our system is a low-cost, safe solution to eradicating airborne viruses minutes after they've been breathed, coughed, or sneezed in the air, unquote. To continue the article, if widely used in occupied public spaces, far UVC technology has the potential to provide a powerful check on future epidemics and pandemics, Brenner said. He added that even when researchers develop a vaccine against the virus that causes COVID, it will not protect against the next novel virus. Then there's the quote about our system is safe, and he goes on to say not only does it have the potential to prevent the global spread of the virus that causes COVID-19, but also future novel coronaviruses, as well as more familiar viruses like influenza and measles. Here's the final paragraph. Brenner, who's doing this study, envisions the use of a safe, overhead far UVC lamps in a wide range of indoor public spaces. The technology, which can easily be retrofitted into existing light structures, he said, could be deployed in hospitals and doctors' offices, as well as schools, shelters, airports, airplanes, and other transportation hubs. That is from Columbia News, and I suspect that is what the president is referring to. Is such a thing possible? Well, let's just find out, why don't we? Here's the video of the president where they say, oh, he said just go stand outside and look at the sunlight and you'll be cured. He didn't say anything like that. When was this video posted? Oh, let's see, down at the bottom, April 24th, 2020. Let's go back to the virus article. When did that come out? Oh, April 21st, 2020. In other words, 3 days before President Trump announced that ultraviolet light might be able to have a significant game-changing effect on the spread of the virus, he undoubtedly read an article from Columbia News saying precisely that. Precisely exactly that. And if I was a reporter, what would I do? If I was a reporter and I was, a real reporter, and the president said something that I thought was stupid, he's saying, it says ultraviolet light would kill viruses. What would I do? I'll tell you what I would do. I would do a Google search. This is what I did 10 minutes ago. I typed in, this is the first thing I entered, does UV light kill viruses? And the top story, the number one listing is, could a new ultraviolet technology fight the spread of COVID-19? And that will take you directly to that article. So there you have it. Now, in conclusion, let me say this. They have lied about what President Trump said, and they have lied about all of this in order to do two things. They want everybody who can possibly die to die, and they want the economy to crash as hard as it can. Now, you may think that that's hyperbole, but you have to ask yourself, if it's hyperbole, why did the press make these statements about this? And this is just one case among hundreds of others, where they're making everything look like it's Donald Trump's fault, it's his incompetence that's responsible for all these deaths and so on. Quick word for you journalists out there, you so-called journalists out there who are covering Donald Trump. Let me just let you in on something, and all you liberals as well. Donald Trump is smarter than you are. He's much smarter than you are. We're smarter than you are as well. We know that this stuff is true, and we don't believe it because we've been told to paint ourselves blue and go dance in the sunlight. We know it because we have a fundamental knowledge of biology, which we got during the educations we received before liberals got a hold of public education. So the question you have to ask yourself is, why would the press tell these kind of lies? Well, there's two reasons. Number one, they would want to do it so that they could get Donald Trump out of office and get their own political people back in office. And when I say that they don't care how many people die or how long the pandemic goes on, I'm not kidding. Think about it. Newspaper people right now are experiencing the highest ratings that they've had in years. They're not out of work and they're not sick and dying. And if you have to be out of work, if you have to lose your job, if you have to lose your home in order for them to get the political candidates that they want in office, then that's what they'll do. Then you can just go out there and die. That's what the media's concern is. And the other media, aspect that you might want to think about is, why is it that this was called the Wuhan virus up until the point, by the media, by the way, the same media, called it the Wuhan virus until the Chinese Communist Party decided that they didn't want to call it the Wuhan virus anymore, at which point the entire mainstream media stopped calling it that, and furthermore, accused anyone who called the Wuhan virus what they called it just a few days earlier, now is all of a sudden a big racist. Why would that connection happen? Why? Why? Well, think about this. Remember when that guy that was a coach for the basketball team tweeted his support for the protesters in Hong Kong? This is several months ago. And the Chinese Communist Party response to that was to take down all of these enormous posters of NBA players and to take down all of it. The Communist Party decided, no more NBA in China if you're going to have somebody speak out like that. The NBA apologized and so on. Now, it's all about the money and it's all about the ideology. So either they're septic because they hate this country and they don't care how many people die or unemployed, so long as they can stick it to Donald Trump and get this brain dead loser over the line, or they're being paid by the Chinese. It can be both, but it's one or the other at least. If you want to share this message, we'd love to have your support, and I would recommend you share it by email. These kind of things are utterly suppressed by YouTube, and the fact that they continue to shadow ban us and suppress us should tell you something, really, honestly, should tell you something about what it is that they are so afraid of. So if you want to send this message, the link will be below here on YouTube. Copy it, paste it, send it to your friends via email. That way they'll get to see it. I'm Bill Whittle. This is the CoronaSphere Lounge. The show is made possible by the members at BillWhittle.com. Thank you very much for joining us, and we'll see you next time on the CoronaSphere Lounge.